Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Bridge Plan Town Hall this afternoon. We are going to be walking through each of those separate strategic goals. But before we start, I would like to introduce our president, Dr. Lauren Blanchard, who has some remarks for us to get started.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beebe. And for those of you that I've not had a chance to meet yet, I just want to say hello. This is day number 10 for me here at the University of Houston downtown, and I can assure you that it has been a rich time in terms of the possibilities of meeting with numbers of individuals, certainly students and faculty and staff and members of the community and legislators. And I look forward to having the opportunity to meet you directly as well. Certainly it's, I would say, both a challenging and an exciting time here at the University of Houston downtown. Challenging in terms of some of the after effects of COVID that we're working through, and exciting because we know that it looks like we're moving toward a period of time where things will become increasingly normal. And don't get me wrong, I know that we still have some hurdles to cross, but in terms of all of the science that's before us, as well as the opportunities for people to increasingly get vaccinated, it's looking very, very promising here in Houston and for the state of Texas and the nation. So that's the exciting element. For those of you who have not necessarily been in touch with us here at UHD over a period of time, I can say to you that we continue to do well with our enrollment. I can also share with you that we have received positive news from our accrediting agency, SAC-COC, regarding new courses and programs that have been approved, that faculty have been spearheading. We're experiencing changes in our landscape, as you well know, with the winter storm. We're looking quite brown, but that pendulum will swing and will be nice and vibrant and green again soon enough. Our alumni are certainly making history in a number of ways in helping to lead the charge for university success, as well as some of the COVID preparation work that's been done throughout the city and state. So frankly, I just want you to know that it's the exciting element of it really centers on the university committee and the university community, I should say, and all of the efforts underway to make sure that we remain a vibrant university. And part of that really is why I'm here today, to listen very carefully as we work to chart the future of the University of Houston downtown, especially through this creation of the Bridge Plan. We know that it's a strategic plan that will take us from 2021 to UHD's 50th anniversary in 2024. So your input here today, I look forward to listening to, because I know that it's going to be very valuable as the individuals whom you'll get a chance to meet, a number of them today, have diligently been working to put this Bridge Plan together and are anxious to hear what you've got to say relative to getting it all finalized. So thank you so much. Again, I look forward to meeting and seeing each of you very soon. And I really appreciate your taking the time today to join us. And certainly, I ask that you join me in thanking all of the members of the various committees that have been working very diligently to pull together this plan, Bridge Plan, but more importantly, the draft Bridge Plan that they are really working diligently to finalize. So thank you, and I turn it back over to you, Dr. Beebe.
Thank you, Dr. Blanchard. So each of the working groups will have 15 minutes to present their area, and then there will be time at the end of each of those, there'll be some time for Q&A. Please use the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen, and the panelists will either answer your questions live during their presentation, or they will answer your questions in the Q&A response. So with that, I would like to introduce Dean Marzilli and Dr. Ashley Blackburn to talk about student success.
All right, well, thank you very much. And before we start, I just wanted to thank Dr. Blackburn and the rest of the committee, the Student Success Subcommittee. This has been a remarkable group of individuals to work with. This has been over a year-long process, and even through COVID, and other situations we've been all working together. But I want to give just a special shout out again to Dr. Ashley Blackburn, because without her co-leadership in this, I'm not sure where we would be. So thanks, Ashley, for that. Ashley and I were able to record a much longer version of this. Please, if you would like to know specifics or kind of dig a little bit deeper, you can go back and watch the video. We're going to talk a little bit about the highlights of where we've been, and some outcomes of where we've been, and then where we would like to go. So first, the goal of this is student success. It's advise, retain, and educate an increasing number of students who meet the workforce needs. And while we're going to share some highlights, really the highlights are almost every single person at this university has had a role in student success. And so Ashley's going to hit the highlights, and then we'll talk about some of the goals. So Dr. Blackburn.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your time and have been looking forward to sharing this work with you. I want to thank Dean Marzelli and our whole working group. It's certainly a team effort, as I'm sure all the groups would say. So some of the highlights from our group, and these are things that we recognize are already happening at the university for our area, for student success, and we wanted to share those with you. So we've got the Retention and Graduation Standing Committee that's actually meeting right now as we speak, doing really important work and bringing some of the things that we're talking about here into fruition. We've started a 3 to 5 day orientation for freshman students. And that went online, which involved quite a bit of work or virtually in summer 2020 due to COVID, but they did a wonderful job with that. We have our great academic coaches, our peer mentors, and our SIs, the supplemental instructors that have provided so much support to our instructors across campus. The academic recovery program for our students who find themselves struggling or on academic probation, and other targeted interventions where we are reaching out to students who need that extra support and assistance. We also have specific programs for transfer students like the Accelerated Transfer Academy, as well as learning communities specific to transfer students and their experiences having studied elsewhere and making the transition to UHD. So those are some of the things in place already. And now we're going to get into the objectives of the student success goal.
Thanks, Dr. Blackburn. Without going over every one of these, what you can see here is that there's been a dramatic increase in 6-year graduation rate, 4-year transfer graduation rate, FDIC 1-year retention rate. Those are all double-digit increases. And again, there's been so much work done preceding the work on this bridge plan. And so what you'll see is that when you look at the bridge plan, when we share the goals with you, they are an extension of, and in some instances, stretch goals to achieve. So again, great work from everyone, and these are pretty remarkable numbers. If we can go to the next slide. When we dive a little deeper into the data, and this is, the committee worked on this, you could start to look at, there are some gender and ethnicity disparities for both retention, 1-year retention, and graduation rates. Female students are being retained and graduating significantly higher than our male counterparts. And then you can look at also the ethnicity, how ethnicity also interacts there. And what this doesn't show, though, is the number of students that are impacted. So in our Latinx students, there's 400 plus male students in an FDIC cohort that are Latino students. And so, when you start looking at 18% higher, that's a very large number, just an absolute number as well as a large percent. So, you know, this does not say anything other than it is a snapshot, and what the Retention Graduation Committee and others will start to begin to work on are programming to look at how can we influence in a positive way so that we can narrow the gap in these different areas with regard to retention and graduation. So we can go on to the next slide, please. So this is for goal 1. This is objective 1, improve FTIC and transfer graduation rates. We took your feedback, and from when we first shared this, we took your feedback, and someone said, well, where did you get these targets from? These targets are based on 8 SACS COC schools, and then 11 national peer institutions that work was done to say, okay, these are some targets and these are some goals. I would like you to see that this is, you know, this was not in the original plan, the original strategic plan, but in this bridge plan, you'll start to see it come up, is talking about 4-year graduation rates. So we would like to increase the 4-year graduation rate to 25% by 2025, increase the 6-year graduation rate to 40%, and maintain a 70% graduation rate for transfers. A question that came up, and I'll just answer it right away, is, you know, how has COVID impacted graduation rates for this coming year? And I'm really proud to share with you today that because of all the hard work that so many people have done, especially our students themselves, we are on pace to have another record year of 6-year graduation. We should surpass 30% and hold above 30%. For the first time in the institution's history. So COVID has the pandemic has had some other impacts that we can talk about later, but in terms of graduation rates, we're holding strong. The next slide is having to deal with integrating the improvement from 1st to 2nd year. Again, you know, our retention rate at this university is on par or better than many other universities in the state of Texas and across the nation at, you know, between that 70 and 75% mark. So our retention is really strong, and even our persistence from 2nd to 3rd year, we're talking about increasing it to 65 from 57, but we're still relatively strong. Where we have some work to do to hit those 4-year plans is in progression. Our students do have grit, and they will continually take classes over and over and over again. And we have to look at and be very cognizant of the progression of the student from 1st to 2nd to 3rd to 4th year. And that a lot has to do with the 1st-year probation rate of our FTIC students. So the committee had made this recommendation that we would lower it to 15%. If you're wondering what it currently is now, it is at 36% this year. This fall saw the largest number of our FTICs on probation at 36%. So we have a lot of work to do there, but as a team, I'm confident, and our student success group was confident that as a team, 15% was a good goal. So I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Blackburn to finish the next 2 objectives.
So our final 2 objectives, 3 and 4, focus on student support services and faculty development. So objective 3 is looking at improving programs and processes for student support. And to Dean Marzilli's last point, with the amount of the students or the percentage of students who do find themselves in a position of needing support, we want to make sure that the support services they're receiving are satisfactory, and of course the students are satisfied specifically. So what we want is an 85%, or what we're aiming towards is an 85% or higher rate of student satisfaction for student services that are offered both in person and online, or to students at distance sites. So you can see the areas there that we specifically want to focus on, but there are other areas as well. And we want to measure this by incorporating a student satisfaction survey that will look at these areas of student support. And we want to implement that every semester so that we can ensure we're improving in areas where we may need to improve. And there is a survey out there already that is looking at support services, and in the survey we're suggesting would supplement that, and we can use all of that data to improve the services that we're offering to our students and ensure their success in both retention as well as their movement towards graduation. And our final slide talks about our last objective, or presents our last objective, which is faculty development. Also something very important to this group, because if faculty are receiving the training and the support that they need, they can better support students. So we have our wonderful CTLE staff and trainers, and they offer great workshops. They've been doing such a wonderful job, especially during these pandemic times, have been offering so much programming for faculty through Zoom. And so our goal is that at least 50% of full-time faculty will participate in a CTLE sponsored program or workshop. And of course, that's faculty across the university from all colleges by 2024, and that would be up about 10% from 41%. And then we would also like to encourage our part-time faculty to take part in these programs as well, whether that's an onboarding program or a CTLE program. And we would like that for all of our part-time faculty, so they are aware of not only the programs that are available to them for faculty development, but also the great services that are available to them for instruction support as they teach their courses. So that ends our presentation of our objectives for the student success goal. And we would now like to open it up to any questions that you may have for us.
Actually, I see one question. It's related to the increase of the freshman size, the freshman class size, and needing necessary support. You know, I do want to share that there has been an increase in support, an increase in peer mentor support for our freshmen, increase in other resources, other programming that we hadn't even had prior to this. So yes, while the freshman class has increased, there has been additional support. I think though, and I know we just have about a minute left, I think the biggest question or answer to that is there has been a lot of students that have stopped out during this time because of COVID. And so, you know, how do we go about and actively recruit those students back and let them know that UHD is open, we're here to support them, there's resources here to get them back on track. So we will work hard on that. And I think there's another question. I don't know if we have time or we can answer that.
You've got about a minute and a half.
Dr. Blackburn, do you want to, as a, you know, this is talking about class size.
So I would say certainly class size and the use of the supplemental instructors would be very helpful in a move like that. They're there to provide support for the faculty members. So moving classes, particularly those that are developing those skills like critical thinking and writing, the supplemental instructors would be a great resource, and I would certainly suggest the use of those. And I think Dr. Marzilli is providing some more information in the Q&A box, but thank you for that question.
Well, thank you, Dean Marzilli and Dr. Blackburn. We will move now to student access, and our panelists are Brian Blackwell and Emily Leffler.
Thank you. So my name is Emily Leffler, and I'm presenting on the Student Access Subcommittee group today. I'd like to thank Brian Blackwell, my co-chair in this effort, and we'd also like to thank Dr. Usman for all of his support and the whole committee. It's been a real team effort, and I appreciate everyone's help. So how do we define student access? What does this really mean for us? Student access is how the various student groups gain access to enrollment at UHD. So that sounds kind of obvious, but we've got our FTIC students, our transfer students, undergraduate versus graduate students, international students, veteran students. So the committee sat down and we talked about all the ways that these different groups of students have access to enroll at UH downtown. And so the goal that was articulated in the previous revised strategic plan, which it may be obvious to say, but all of these committees, our task was to look back at the revised strategic plan that was from 2015 to 2020, examine what was stated, how did everything turn out, and then provide some narrative and some feedback for the next strategic plan that will be written. So that's why we're in the bridge right now, right? So the goal that was defined in that revised strategic plan was recruit an increasing number of qualified students from the diverse community. So it's very kind of broad, but what does this really mean? So there were targets that were established in that plan. And as the committee reviewed some of those targets, we realized some of them are a bit on the kind of traditional side and maybe need some revisiting. For example, when we're talking about FTIC students, one of the targets was all around high school class rank. Well, our colleagues from the admissions office were reporting that fewer and fewer high schools are submitting high school class rank. And so this is a target that maybe is being phased out. We even had a student on our committee who looked at the targets that were identified and said, I wouldn't have fit into any of these categories because this student went to a very competitive high school here in Houston where, in order to even remain in the high school, the student had to maintain certain criteria. And so the student said, being in the second half of this high school wasn't so bad. And so why eliminate that possibility? So it was just a really interesting conversation about some of the metrics that we've set historically and maybe offering some consideration for other targets moving forward. And again, a lot of these things are articulated in our video. I know the previous group talked about how we all have done videos as well, and we hope you have an opportunity to view those videos to see more details. Another thing that we looked at as a group was the targets that were established in the plan, and the previous strategic plan were all about head count of enrollment. But we'd like to see some more refined targets moving forward, maybe looking at the majors and the areas of study. Is there some type of a proportional goal we can look at moving forward? Another concern we talked about when we're talking about transfer students, we know that during COVID, while UHD has seen growth in enrollment, many of the community colleges have seen a decline. So how is this going to impact our enrollment moving forward? Is this going to be a threat? Are we going to see some decline in enrollment? We talked about how the pandemic has really prepared us for a more remote environment moving forward. What if there is a freeway construction project and people have limited access to campus? How are we going to continue to provide access to courses? And the pandemic, I think, has really helped us with that. So these are a lot of the ideas that we considered as a group and wrote about, and we have some many more details in our video presentation. The group really was kept with the objectives, though, that were defined in the previous strategic plan, in that the first objective being we really want to enhance the number and quality of entering undergraduate students while maintaining our commitment to diverse population. We want to continue to enhance these community college partnerships to increase our transfer enrollment. And we're also interested in increasing graduate, international, and veteran student enrollment. And so again, our video goes into some more details about how some metrics that we might use for moving forward. But one other thing I want to talk about is with international students. You know, we've seen somewhat of a disruptive environment nationally for international students, and we're hoping that with the new national leadership, that international students will find it somewhat more friendly and warm environment to study in the U.S. And we would just really encourage more partnerships between UHD and other international institutions in order to improve that enrollment. So we're looking forward to the future strategic plan, and we hope that the information we've put together in this bridge plan for student access can really help inform those who are going to be writing that future strategic plan. Any questions at this time?
Thank you, Emily. Again, if you have any comments that come to mind, please use the Q&A, or you can use the comment box on the strategic plan website. And now we'd like to move to programmatic advancement and Dr. Ed Cueva and Dr. David Ryden.
Hi, I'll simply introduce the group and then turn the podium over to Dr. Cueva. My name is David Ryden, and I was part of the Programmatic Advancement Subcommittee. This was a federation of relevant faculty and staff, as well as administrators. I want to make a plug for when we do move to the next step and do the strategic plan, that this was a really engaging opportunity for me, and I think for the other members. So I want to encourage faculty, staff, and administrators when we do this again and build off the bridge plan, that you get involved. So I'm going to, at this point, just simply turn it over to Ed and have him explain some of the outcomes and some of the provisional expectations that we put forth.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Ryden. Welcome and thank you for attending this afternoon's session. I do want to give a warning. My neighbors have decided to bring out their tree chipper, so at any moment I might have to resort to the microphone and headset. But that being said, so in our vision here at UHD, we have the statement to develop nationally and regionally prominent academic programs. And that's what we decided to focus in on when we were doing our subcommittee work. We want to make sure that we have a very solid academic programs here at the university. Next slide, please. And here's the subcommittee membership. As Dr. Ryden mentioned, it was a federation of different levels and folks and areas of interest, from faculty to staff and administrators. Next slide, please. Now, the first thing that we did when we first began the work on this subcommittee, which was originally co-chaired by Dr. Koja and myself, but Dr. Koja has left the university for an academic appointment elsewhere, we did a gap analysis, and the results of the survey were that it's evident that stakeholders in the community, in the university community, in the Houston Metroplex do depend on UHD and its faculty to offer and deliver relevant, high quality programming. So we do that. And one of the ways that we've done that is to reach out to not only the faculty expertise, of course the faculty own the curriculum, but also we've worked collaboratively with industry and community partners in order to ensure that our degree programs do have what future employers need and are asking for. Next slide, please. What's happened since the last time that we looked at the strategic plan? We've developed 3 new undergraduate degrees, 1 graduate program, and 15 unique graduate certificates. With the help of Dr. Musali, we've established policies and processes to make sure that we can document and establish these programs correctly. So if you go to the new curriculum portal, you'll see that it's much more developed, much more user-friendly. And of course, Dr. Musali is I guess, what should I say? The epitome of policy designer here at UHC. So she's been very involved on this. What we've done though, is that we've made sure that 100% of the degree programs do have improvement plans, and that these improvement plans make guarantee that they have at least one AAC&U essential learning outcome. And we've also received funding to develop 2 competency-based concentration within the BAAS-AA. Next slide, please. Now, what do we plan to do? So our first objective is to keep expanding the UHD's programmatic offerings with 6 new undergraduate degrees that will grow our number from 44 to 50 programs, develop 6 new graduate programs that will increase our graduate programs from 9 to 15, keep developing new credit-bearing certificate programs to go from 15 to 27, and also to develop continuing education programming to address the local industry and community needs. Next slide, please. We also have as an objective to enhance and expand online and off-campus programs. So we're, as targets, we have 6 additional online undergraduate programs, 2 additional online graduate programs, 5 additional active undergraduate programs. So we're looking at, they might be fully completable or not off campus, but we do want to grow those from 18 to 23. And as we're doing this, we want to make sure we integrate best practices in our online education programs, and with the help, of course, from the Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence and our IT experts. Next slide, please. We want to continue to assess the core curriculum, and this is the sort of the methodology that we're going to employ. We want to identify, we want to work with faculty, and then we want to report out on the impact of the strategies. In terms of core curriculum assessment, there's lots of assessment going on, we know that, but we want to make sure that the assessment is actually leading someplace, right? So once the assessment takes place, we want to make sure that it's fed back into the program for improvement so that we close the loop on our exercises in the assessment area. Next slide, please. The same sort of methodology. We want to document, we want to work with faculty, and we want to report out in the area of high impact practices in the core curriculum. So we want to identify, integrate, and enhance our HIPs here at UHD. Next slide, please. Oh, that's it. If there are any questions for me or for Dr. Ryden. We're an awfully nice group out there.
Thank you, Dr. Cueva and Dr. Ryden.
You're welcome.
We will move on now to the Research, Scholarship, and Creative Activities Work Group, and that will be Dr. Jerry Johnson today.
Thank you, Dr. Beebe. First, I would like to thank Dr. Krista Gehring and our fellow subcommittee members for the excellent work that they did on the bridge plan. So what we'll do first is we will articulate some of the accomplishments that we have made in research, scholarship, and creative activities, and then frame how we see moving forward with Goal 4 in research, scholarship, and creative activities. So research, scholarship, and creative activities informs what and how faculty teach and is critical to the instructional mission of the institution. Moreover, UHD faculty are highly qualified and skilled experts in their disciplines. In conducting the gap analysis, we found that there were some near universal challenges for faculty engagement in research, scholarship, and creative activities. And those included faculty time in order to conduct their work, a need for a more robust university research infrastructure, and issues around faculty compensation. But despite these challenges, UHD faculty support course-based and independent undergraduate research opportunities as a high-impact educational thrust at the institution. Moreover, UHD has also enjoyed annual growth in grant awards over the last 5 years, with awards that blend traditional research, equipment and infrastructure, education, and student support. UHD faculty excellence in research, scholarship, and creative activities has been recognized by the awarding of multiple Fulbright scholarships, the Pushcart Literary Prize, government fellowships, and the designation of one of our faculty as the Houston Poet Laureate. UHD faculty have also discovered new extinct and extant species. They have been awarded multi-million-dollar grants, and they have blended pedagogy, scholarship, and creative activities in the development of internationally distributed pedagogical comic books, and they have published numerous renowned peer-reviewed articles, chapters, and books. So goal 4 of the current strategic plan has been broadly articulated to be to recruit, retain, and support highly qualified faculty, and to encourage faculty research, scholarship, and creative activities to enhance the culture and contribute to regional development. And the intended outcome by 2020 was a very traditional research-intensive metric of obtaining $4 million in research expenditures by 2020. There were 4 original objectives associated with research, scholarship, and creative activities. The first was to increase faculty participation in peer-reviewed research and scholarly and creative output. The second was to actively recruit and retain highly qualified faculty. The third was to enhance the academic culture of the university. And the last one was to encourage and support new funding opportunities. What our work group is proposing is that those objectives be modified to acknowledge the actual identity of UHD. Some of our recommended changes to Goal 4 objectives include, but are not limited to, engaging the campus community in a conversation about the role of research, scholarship, and creative activities, and how they play a role in our teaching intensive, primarily undergraduate, minority, and Hispanic serving institution, and the further enculturation of undergraduate research across the campus. So rather than articulate specific goals, we believe that we need to have a campus conversation around this. We also recommend that we develop a comprehensive and flexible faculty workload policy that allows for flexibility in teaching, service, and research and scholarship and creative activities so that faculty can maximize their output in their agency. Furthermore, we recommend that we modify the objectives to focus on the inclusion of UHD students in the research enterprise and to focus on the impact of our efforts on the students. We also recommend that the institution dedicate additional base funding to continue to build the research infrastructure on campus and to develop an equity-minded faculty recruitment, hiring, and retention plan to diversify the UHD faculty with qualified individuals from marginalized groups. We also recommend to increase faculty salaries so that they are commensurate and competitive with our national peers, to engage in a campus conversation about areas of focus and pillars of excellence for scholarly output. So for example, many of our research trajectories intersect in the broad areas of social justice. That might be one pillar of excellence that we might decide upon. We also recommend that we leverage those areas of focus and pillars of excellence in research, scholarly, and creative activities to apply for targeted and strategic external funding and to leverage those pillars of excellence in our branding and our marketing plans. And finally, we recommend that we engage in a campus conversation to redefine external funding goals with mission and vision specific targets as appropriate. And with that, if you'd like additional details, we recommend that you go and watch the video that we have posted for additional recommendations, and otherwise we will take questions.
I think you must have done your job, Dr. Johnson. There are no questions in the box, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now move on to external partnerships with Jacob Lip and Dr. Gulati.
Chatty group today, all around. Hey, everybody. Want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for participating in this process. The External Partnerships Working Group consists of Dr. Gulati and myself, as well as Dr. David Branham, Jesse Lopez, Elisa Olson, Talina Savito, Monica Villarreal, and Dr. Dietrich von Weidenfeld. I want to thank all of them for their involvement, as well as Dean Devanna Fulton and Dr. Lori Lovins, who left us during the course of 2020 and are no longer with the university. So external partnerships is really about the telling of the UHD story. All of the previous portions of the strategic bridge plan really are about creating a story and interacting with students and here on the campus among those of us who are here. But really we're able to work to transform the university and provide greater outcomes for all of us who are part of the university community whenever we interface with the media, when we interface with our alumni and donors. And that's really to a very large extent, as well as interacting with our community partners, what this portion of the strategic bridge plan is all about. We won't go through point by point. I hope you will take the time to view the video that Dr. Gulati and I and our work group has prepared. But we do want to hit on a few highlights. As far as the success since the strategic plan was introduced, we successfully completed our the UHD Here We Go campaign, raising $32 million since 2013. This is the largest university campaign in history, the largest fundraising campaign in UHD history. And you can see the results of that in every college, every academic program, and increasingly in our buildings around the campus. We also are growing in our media presence, and you'll see that as we updated our metrics and our goals for the coming bridge plan period. University relations is more active on social media. We have faculty experts, a number of them who have participated in this process, and they're increasingly in television and on radio. And so we're, people are just seeing us more through traditional media and social media. And we are interacting more increasingly with elected officials and public officials, both on campus and out in the community and virtually over the course of certainly the last 12 months, as was indicated to a very large extent last night with UHD Day online at the Capitol. So those of you who were not able to participate, I understand the video will be made available. So if you would like to see UHD Day at the Capitol, I'll encourage you to check that out as well. And in regards to our community engagement, Dr. Gulati will discuss that quite a bit later on. But that is another way that we're able to provide our students with tremendous opportunities and to increasingly tell the story to our friends and neighbors throughout the Houston community and beyond on the impact that the university has. So objectives 1 through 4 within the external partnerships area of the strategic plan are going to stay unchanged. We largely, although we are changing our targets, and that's for a number of reasons. For one, in a couple of different areas, we have new data systems that allow us to better track and to better count our impact that we're able to have with the interaction that we have. So in one area, we are going to increase our prospective leads for students from 450 to 500, and we're able to do that to a large extent because of new data systems that we have. Also, historically, we've only been able to track alumni participation in terms of philanthropy, but we're going to go beyond that now. We have the capacity to track alumni volunteerism, to track alumni engagement, attendance at events, communication. And so we're doing that in our current legacy database system, which is called Advance. And over the course of the next year, we'll be introducing a new university system-wide platform, a CMS, CRM, which is called Engage UHS, and that'll allow us even greater data tracking so that we'll have a better perspective on that going into the next strategic plan. One big change that is made, particularly in Objective 3, is that we're moving away from fixed goals to growth goals. That makes quite a bit more sense considering the status quo, and moving beyond that will involve moving not to some pie in the sky goal line that we've arbitrarily determined, but looking at where we are and realizing what realistic objectives we can set for ourselves, and providing the resources so that we're able to move forward in things like alumni participation and alumni giving from where we are now to where we hope to be at the conclusion of this bridge plan. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Gulati.
Thank you, Jacob. Next slide, please. Okay, so as Jacob said, we've been working on these objectives for Goal 5, and we've had a great committee to work with over the past year. And I'd like to just tell you a little bit about the updates for these objectives. So we had 4 objectives in this goal. We've introduced a 5th one, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But the goals for objectives 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3, I'll just give you a little bit about what we recommended. There's a lot more details, as Jacob mentioned in the video. So objective 1 was to enhance the awareness of UHD as a quality institution of higher education. And so we suggested a change of 30 media mentions up from 12 media mentions, and social media connections of 65,000 up from 30,000. And we've been doing really well in this area. Increase the external funding from philanthropic sources, that's objective 2. And we're going to be recommending to go from 4.5 million to 5 million by 2024. This is annual. And then Jacob mentioned for objective 3 to increase the participation and engagement of alumni and friends. And we're going to be looking more at growth rather than absolute numbers. And that's going to be 5% growth in both participation as well as donations. And then the last one of the original goal is to strengthen relationships with elected officials and community partners. We didn't recommend any changes because UHD is actually very good in this area, very strong. There's a lot of, you probably have been to some Gator Grid series, lectures that have brought in elected officials as well as community partners. And then I know like in the Gator Serve that we do, we always have elected officials here. We've also had, through Dr. Wendy Lawrence's center, we've had candidates come here. And so I think we're doing really well on this, and the committee didn't recommend any changes in this objective. Next slide, please. So this last objective that we're proposing is to strengthen the strategic outreach and engagement efforts to elevate the university's profile as an engaged contributor to civic life. So we do a lot in this area already, but I don't think that we necessarily keep track of everything that the university is doing. And we also want to make sure that people know what we are doing. So we would like to have at least 15% of the students participate in university planned or affiliated community engagement activities in 2021. Currently, the rate is 13%. So we'd like to increase that a little bit more. And then increase student participation by a rate of 5% annually. So this is all, again, looking at growth. And achieve 10% annual participation rate among faculty and staff, both in independent and UHD affiliated community engagement activities. So currently we have about 8% of the staff that participate in such activities. The faculty participation is a little lower. We don't have the exact number, but we really would like to get more faculty and staff involved in both civic engagement and community engagement. It's really nice for students when they have faculty and staff working right next to them and they're there in the community with them. So we'd really like to encourage faculty and staff to look out for these opportunities and to participate with us. So this will be the new objective that is being proposed by us. So that's all we have, and any questions you have, we'd like to answer either now or later, whenever you have them. Thank you.
All right, let them rip. Any questions? Thank you all.
It looks as though you have made an excellent presentation. And so thank you, Jacob and Dr. Gulati. We now move to Dr. Blake Tritico and Administration and Infrastructure.
Hi, everyone. I am Midis at the Maz Dean
Oh.
of Students. I'm going to start us off today, and then Dr. Tritico will finish us off. So again, I am Midis at the Maz Dean of Students and the co-chair, one of the co-chairs of Goal 6, Administration and Infrastructure. And I am here with my other co-chair, Dr. Blake Tritico, who, as I mentioned just a minute ago, will finish us off. I'll get us started off here with our highlights. I also want to first thank everyone for their time with reviewing the work that was produced from this working group and providing us with feedback. Also want to give a special thank you to Lucy Bowen, who actually started off as one of the other co-chair with me. She gave us a plan in hand, really launched this group off. So a huge thank you to her for that. So the members of this working group included folks from ESO, Academic and Student Affairs, IT, the Police Department, Facilities Management, Emergency Management, and the Budget Office. And you can find a full list of the members on the Bridge Plan webpage. So Goal 6 focuses on the university's investment in staff, infrastructure, and processes that supports the institution. And so the information that we have presented here is going to be based on a gap analysis that the working group conducted pertaining to the respective objectives and targets listed for this goal in the existing strategic plan. So we've also identified accomplishments and success stories and used all of this information to make recommendations for the larger strategic plan. So you'll see here a few of the highlights of our successes and accomplishments, and that includes over the past 5 years, 35 policies have been updated. We've surpassed the goals set for participation in staff development. We've expanded the number of learning activities offered by ESO. We have fully transitioned to PeopleSoft, and we've opened up the Girard Street building and Welcome Center and the Sciences and Technology building. Next slide, please. So here I'm going to turn it over to my co-chair, Dr. Tritico, to provide an overview of the findings and recommendations for each of the objectives within Goal 6.
So the first recommendation here, Objective 1, is on this the 2015-2020 strategic plan that we focus on actively recruiting and retaining high-performance individuals for all staff positions. Further, for fiscal year 21, the average staff salaries overall met averages by 89% according to Coupa data. As a result, many departments at UHD continue to hire below market rates. Nevertheless, UHD is committed to continue striving to meet Target 1 by reaching a salary average rate of 90 to 95% and has allocated funds for a comprehensive market study that is just launched. When the study is finalized and salary adjustments are made, UHD will make additional strides to hire all personnel at 90% of market moving forward. A second target for Objective 1 for this strategic plan was to increase staff to faculty ratio from its current 1.54 to 1, from that to 1.7.5 to 1 by 2020, and by 2024 achieve the recommended goal of 2 to 1. This represents a significant and a bold statement about the strategic position of the university regarding hiring practices and position. Another recommendation for Objective 1 is for this objective to have at least 85% of new hires receive a score of meets expectation on their probationary evaluation. Next slide. So development and learning opportunities for staff. The objective of this goal was focuses on providing organizational development and learning opportunities for staff. And a recent A recommendation from recent survey feedback is to change this objective from increase to provide effective organizational development and learning opportunities for staff, as well as to add a target that at least 85% of participants who participate in a learning activity will agree or strongly agree that it was effective and useful. Next slide. Objective 3, community engagement. Focused on encouraging community engagement and participation among all employees with a target that at least 50% of all staff would participate in at least one community and/or civic engagement opportunity. While well-intended, this work group did not believe that the objective belonged under Goal 6, and therefore we are recommending that it be revised or removed entirely. Next slide, please. So objective 4 deals with technology, and IT has worked to employ technology strategically in a way that empowered the university to attain its goals while supporting faculty, students, and staff effectively. The targets from the previous strategic plan were to maintain a 99.9% system uptime and maintain overall satisfaction rate of technology services at a minimum of 90%. Both targets were met. To maintain high performance, IT is moving the website and Blackboard to the cloud, adding power, resiliency, and addressing hurricane preparedness. Next slide, please. The campus infrastructure, facility management maintained an infrastructure and campus environment that supports the needs of the UHD community. They achieved their targets by completing work orders at a rate of 60% within 5 days and achieving their goal to complete 90% of all service order requests within 20 business days. Also, facilities management currently has a 4-year plus period of zero lost time employee safety record and is working to make this a 5-year accomplishment. Next slide, please. Campus safety. This objective focuses on expanding and strengthening emergency preparedness and campus safety. Targets included holding fire and evacuation drills twice a year in each building and implementing mandatory viewership of a campus carry training video, both of which were met. Thus, the recommendation for the new strategic plan is to add a target related to preparedness for other types of emergencies. Regarding strategies, we recommend keeping 6.1 and add this type of training to ESO mandatory trainings. Secondly, we recommend keeping 6.4. It focuses on evaluating campus safety and emergency preparedness, and we recommend conducting each semester given our current conditions. A few accomplishments to note for this objective is the implementation of biannual fire, evacuation, and lockdown drills to test the campus life safety programs and to foster a safety culture. UHD has also implemented an annual review of its emergency management plan and continuity of operations plan. UHD Police engages with the community by hosting the National Night Out and safety and security seminars. Further, UHD Police also installed hundreds of security cameras and call boxes throughout the UHD campus, as well as enhanced exterior lighting. And as COVID-19 pandemic spread in the early 2020, the Office of Emergency Services partnered with all campus divisions to mobilize and implement safety initiatives to limit the spread of the virus on campus. That concludes this presentation, and we're open for questions now.
Thank you, Dr. Temez and Dr. Tridico. I apologize, Dr. Temez, you weren't on the run of show today.
No, that's okay. But I do see that we have a question from Dr. Canedo about why not target Coupa's average or median salaries instead of 90% to 95%. That is a great question that we will take back to our partners in employment services and get an answer for you.
Any other questions? I would like to thank all of our presenters today. Well, actually, there's one more question that just came up. Are there plans to automate some of the processes on campus?
I would ask, could they be a little more specific about what processes they're?
Precisely. But I will add that if, information technology is looking for more ways, they've done a great job with moving us to the cloud and getting us a lot more software and access that where we don't have to, VPN and things of that nature. And so I would think that if there's more automation of processes, we would certainly look into that. Travel and other paper-driven documents. Great question. We can certainly take that feedback back and ask that we look into that and that it gets included into the next, into the larger strategic plan.
Okay, we'll try this one more time. I'd like to thank Dr. Trico and Dr. Temez for their presentation. I'd like to also just thank all of the working group co-chairs, the members of their committees. It's been an incredible amount of time, effort, and labor. Despite the pandemic, they have moved forward. I would also like to recognize my co-chair, Bobby Shaw, who has been the guru behind the slides. Also Sam Bible and Quentin Arsenault, who have provided incredible technical support for us. And then also Tahisha Hobbs, Natalie Boehm, and Lucy Bowen, who have really helped us maintain the momentum in the project. If you have any additional questions or any additional comments, I would direct you to the Strategic Bridge Plan webpage. There is a box there to put comments. There's also links to all of the working group committees and membership, as well as links to the videos. So if there are no further questions, I would also like to thank Dr. Blanchard for making time in his early and busy schedule with us at UHD to attend these sessions. And with that,
I too wanted to take the time to thank everyone. I know this has been a very long process that we started, and we thought it was going to be a lot shorter than it was. But we also need to recognize Emily Leffler and Brian Blackwell, who just got on board recently within the last few months. Their presentation was great. Their efforts are wonderful. Everyone did a great job. And Emily, don't feel bad. Ron and I got thrown in there real quick too. We had no idea what was going on. So great job. And thank you very much for your efforts.
well, do you want to wish everybody a good afternoon?
Sure. You guys have a good afternoon. See y'all later.
Goodbye, everybody.